Hi Divas, welcome to the Divatude Experience. My name is Michelle Garrett of Divas With A Purpose, and I am so glad you've joined us. Today I would like to introduce you to Pam Margolis, the Unconventional Librarian. Pam is speaking to us today on believing in the power of you. This is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. We speak about self-love and self-care quite a bit on Divas With A Purpose, and throughout my time and throughout my journey with my website, I have encountered many, many women that truly do not believe in the power of themselves. I am one of those women that had to go through that personal journey myself, so it's something that I can definitely relate to. I am so thankful to Pam for sharing her personal story and also giving us some very actionable steps that we can take. While watching this video, I would suggest that you take notes because she gives us some really, really good information. And there's also something that you can do right away as you're watching it if this is something that you are struggling with. So thank you for tuning in, and I now present to you Pam Margolis. Hi, Pam. We're going to start. Your topic today is believing in the power of you. Can you share with us just really briefly why that's important to you?
Okay. There was a time when, believe it or not, I didn't always feel as fabulous as I am. And being an only child, your world is kind of centered around yourself. And so when you go out into the world, when you get away from home, and other people don't think you're as fabulous as you were brought up to believe, it's kind of hard. And then when you're told negative things like you're ugly or you're stupid, then you don't know what to believe. And so you have a lot of competing, dare I say, voices in your head, and then you start to get really confused. And so after I lost myself, I had people tell me, you were never this way when we were younger. And so then I had to learn to get myself back. And that involved believing in myself, because I really was that same butt kick person that I was when I was a kid.
That is awesome. So tell us, I can relate to a lot to what you're saying, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers can, because in the Divas with a Purpose community, with a lot of the posts that I make, and even some of the emails that I receive, that is something that it seems like a lot of women struggle with. So can you tell us just how can we relearn, I guess, maybe how to believe in the power of me?
I believe in self-talk. Okay, so my formative adult years were in Texas, and we were in the church. So this might not apply to everyone, but a lot of people believe in Bible verses and all of that. And if that works for you, fine. But if it doesn't, the point is still that you're telling yourself good things. And for various strange reasons, the Bible verses never worked for me, because I always felt like I was trying to reach a standard that I just couldn't get to, which made the situation even worse. So I learned to find other ways to self-talk that met my needs and that were actually doable and workable, instead of John 3:16. Well, that didn't really mean anything to me, but it meant something to the lady next door at the women's meeting. So that was fine for her, but I needed to find something different.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I can understand that. I think sometimes, with our faith, if we're in that period of time, sometimes we need, it's a foundation. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. It can be a foundation, but
Right.
We also need something a little bit stronger. And as we grow, we kind of have to find something else to build upon that to help us through those times. So do you have any maybe specific action steps that we can take? Like if I'm at that point where I'm just like completely lost,
Sure.
what is it that I can do to get to that next step?
Sure. I have 3 steps. One that really helped me was understand why you behave the way you do. And I can go into this in greater detail later. Number 2, forgive yourself for past crimes, or forgive the person who did the past crimes to you, and find the value in positive self-talk.
I like that. I like that. I like that. You want to go ahead and go into a little bit more the meat of that for us?
Sure. Okay. So you have to understand why you behave the way you do. So you have to, for me, you have to look at your background and your upbringing. And, you know, psychologists are always asking you why you hate your mother and whatever. And there's some value to that. Like, I'm a third generation of women being abused. Okay. So I saw my mother being abused. I saw my grandmother being abused. So if I saw those two women what hope was there for me? Right? So I had to get to the root of that and figure out what was it about women in my family that allowed themselves to be abused. And when I couldn't figure that out, then I just had to turn it around on myself and say, okay, look, I'm not going to be able to figure this out, but I see these two women. I know for darn sure I'm not letting it happen again. So I'm going to break the cycle right now. So that took a lot of work. There's a lot of self-study. And if you're into prayer is really good for that. But a lot of, why do I do this? Well, what makes me feel like this? Am I hurt? Am I hungry? Do I feel the need to be the center of attention? And when you really dig down and figure out those core issues that everybody needs, then you can say, okay, my core issue is, for example, my core issue is I'm the center of the universe. Okay. So why is this man talking to me a certain way, but yet, better yet, why am I allowing him to talk to me a certain way? And then once I'm able to figure that out, I go, oh, because he's really, like, I love beefcake. That's my thing. Okay. But beefcake is my downfall because, you know, I'm center of the universe. And then I see somebody else, oh, I want to be with that. So whatever I need to do to make sure beefcake wants to be with me, you see how I'm kind of putting myself at a disadvantage. I'm not the center of my universe anymore. Now Mr. Beefcake is.
Beefcake is.
So that was one thing that worked for me as far as understanding why you behave the way you do. And it's hard work. It's not something that comes easy. I've read a lot of self-help books, a lot of workbooks. They really help when you kind of like dig through issues and write lists. At least I'm a list maker, so that helped me.
I love the that first step. I mean, just that is so powerful, and taking the time to just really realize, you know, okay, what is the why behind this? And sometimes we want to skip over that step and just kind of place the blame, and focus on the solution, but not, you know, the steps that led up to us being in this predicament. And you stating, you know, with your seeing that pattern with your mother and your grandmother, a lot of times we don't realize that a lot of the things that we learn to accept, we accept them unconsciously because it's learned. It's the normal. It's normal for us. So I think really, you know, that's a very key point that you made with kind of looking at our background, what we've seen in the past, but then, you know what, sometimes, you know, the past is the past. We can't change it. But we can change the future. We can change right here and now and make that decision to say, okay, I'm committed to moving forward, believing in myself and making positive changes so I don't have to accept this. That is awesome. And we're going to include, what we'll do is I'll include some resources, and you are a guru when it comes to referring books. So I'm sure that you can give us some references, and I'll include that in the swag bag kit for the ladies that will be viewing this as well. So if there's anyone that does need some specific resources, maybe there's some books that helped you during your time that you can share with them.
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay, go ahead. Step number 2, I'm ready.
Right. And I wanted to tag one more bit onto that. I had been working through all these things kind of casually or whatever, but when I had my daughter and I was still in the abusive relationship, and I had been trying to leave for years and I just couldn't get it together. So I'm holding this beautiful little chubby baby who's now a freshman in college, right?
Oh my goodness.
And I'm holding this beautiful little thing that I can't believe they let me take her home. right? Because they obviously don't know what an idiot I am. And I said, wait a minute. If a man ever lays his hand on her, I will straight up do whatever I need to do to take care of her. Go to jail, kill somebody, whatever. It did not matter. And that was kind of the turnaround point for me. I said, I cannot let somebody harm this child, which means I have to teach her to respect herself and to never let anybody take any crap. Don't take any crap from anybody. And it's not easy, but when you have a goal like that, the end point is. That was, the eyes on the prize. That was it.
Yes. Oh my goodness, our children. Yeah, it's amazing the depths of what we'll do for our babies. Like it's that light bulb goes off that says, okay, I really need to make a change, because you don't want them, like you said, with the cycle, your grandmother, your mother, now making that change is not just, dependent on your future and well-being, but also your now freshman, I can't believe that, daughter.
Right.
So,
and she has an older brother. And I thought, okay, here we're going to have another generation of young Black men who feel like it's okay to beat up on a woman. So I'm doubly responsible. And that hit me really hard. And I said, okay, what can I do to make sure this little knucklehead doesn't become one of those knuckleheads? And so the same lessons I taught her, I just flipped it around on him and said, if you ever feel the need to lay your hands on somebody, there's a problem with that. And we need to figure out why you feel like you need to do that. And I've been pretty lucky in that it's worked.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I love that you're open with your kids and discuss that with them so that they can see growing up, that these are the steps that I want you to take. I think a lot of times we try to shelter our children from the adult world, but they're so smart. A lot of the stuff that we try to keep away from them, they're aware of it anyways, and it I think being open and honest with them helps them to deal with it and to help us too, because kids are so intelligent. Some of the things that they come up with,
and you don't have to tell them everything at first. Even when Angelica was 5, boys would pull her pigtail. Don't let that boy lay his hands on you. He has no reason to touch you. Or if we're in the pediatrician's office and the doctor said, can I examine her? I'd say, don't ask me. It's her body. You ask her. So she's given agency over her own body. She looked at me like, is it okay? And I said, well, we are here at the doctor, but, if you don't want him to touch you, say it, but it's your choice.
That is a great point. That's a really, really good point, because we're teaching them at that early stage. You have the ability to give, like you said, you are the agent. You are the one that has to give that permission. Don't pass that permission on to someone else. That's a serious light bulb moment for me. It's so
Thank you.
I never even really thought about that. Wow, my daughter has a pediatrician's visit coming up like within the next month or so. So I'm definitely, this is something I really will need to start implementing. I never even thought about something as simple as that having an impact on them. But
because, there are so many doctors who take advantage of people, and they have to understand early on, okay, yeah, my mom is paying for this doctor's appointment or whatever, but still, when they come in, I am here, and yes, you can touch me, or yes, you can touch me now. Or even if it's just a 3-second, I'm going to make you wait. They have to know that they have to give permission, because there's just too many women who have been put upon by someone they trusted.
That's awesome. So that relates to that believing in the power of you, instilling that in our children at that early of an age, just something that simple. By teaching them as parents, we can go ahead and start building that foundation to help our babies believe in the power of themselves by just giving them that simple power to say, yes, you're the one that has the permission to examine me.
Right.
I love that. Like, that's a tweetable moment. So I'm going to have that on there. I love it. I love it. Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Yay. So you have to use the power wisely, of course, Okay. And so my other point was forgive yourself for past crimes. And this was so hard for me. So it wasn't that I really had any crimes. What I had to do was I had to forgive my ex-husband for the abuse that I suffered. And the problem is, by the time I was working through this, he had already killed himself. So it's not like I could go back and go, you did this to me, you're a piece of this, and you're whatever. So I had to learn to offer forgiveness from someone who wasn't there to receive it. And that's not normally how you're raised. You're normally, you go to someone, go ahead, ask me to forgive me. You hurt my feelings. And then you wait and they say, I'm sorry. And you say, okay, right?
And everything's okay, yeah.
Right. Everything's not okay. Okay, whatever. So when that person isn't around, then what do? That really messes up your MO. You're like, okay, now what? So you have to free yourself from the requirement to have that other person there. Okay. So I have some comments somewhere. I made a really good sentence. Let me see if I can find it now. Okay. All right. I can't find it. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that you offer that person forgiveness in here. Mm-hmm. You did a really crummy thing to me. Okay. And I forgive you. And you know why? Because if I hold on to that forgiveness, it makes me ugly. And I just want to be pretty. All I've ever wanted to be is pretty. Okay. I had smart, but who wants to be smart? You want to be pretty. Okay. Forgiveness requires, not forgiving requires remembering. You have to remember why you're angry. Remember why you're hurt. And you hold all those feelings in and you make your mouth like this. And then that's not pretty. Right? Who wants to look at this?
Exactly.
You're balling up your stomach and then you're making these faces and then you're talking like, and that's just not pretty at all. Mm-mm. So I decided I wasn't going to let that have any more real estate in my brain. So you know what? I forgive you. Doesn't mean that it's right what you did. What it means was I'm so over you. You just don't even exist. So once I was able to do that, then I was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, sure. Some really crummy things happened to me, but let me focus on what I can fix versus something that I can't change. And he probably isn't going to ask for forgiveness. Well, he's dead, so he can't. But, there are some people they can't. And again, I give myself the power, right? Because I'm not waiting on that person to ask for forgiveness. I forgive you because I don't even need to think about you. I'm going to move on because I want to be pretty. And I don't want to have to try to remember why I'm angry at you all the time. And besides, angry makes those lines like this,
Yeah, we don't want the lines. We don't want the lines.
No, I'm trying to be pretty. And, that's ugly.
I love that. Just forgive and move on. I love it. It's so simple, and I'm sure it's not easy. I'm sure it's something that you have to struggle with. It's easy for us to say, just forgive it and move on. But I'm sure when you combine step one or your first point with this point, it's that progress, and that's those steps that you take to get to that point, to do that forgiveness. And honestly, it's really not about them. Because I think, like you said, not forgiving. You said not forgiving is remembering. And I think holding on to it is allowing them to continue to have that power over you.
Right.
So by forgiving them and moving on and moving forward, you're releasing them from that power. You no longer have a hold over me. Physically you may have had this hold over me, and even if I've moved on from the situation, now you still have an emotional, mental hold over me. So now I'm releasing you of all of that.
Right.
That is so powerful. I love it.
Thank you. I found the statement I thought might be a tweetable moment. Stop
There we go.
giving negative thoughts valuable real estate in your brain.
I love it.
So those
I
negative
love
thoughts can be a whole lot of things, but I was just thinking about that. And like every time I see him, I'm like, oh, he did this to me. And look at that. That is so not
That
pretty.
is, well, actually, it is kind of cute on you, but.
Stop.
But no, I get your point. I get your point. Yes. But, when you start thinking about that stuff, you're right. Your face gets, I have that, they call it the resting bee face, but I have that face that I don't look happy when I'm just sitting there. So, I can admit there are things from my past that if I catch myself thinking about it or reflecting on it, if I'm home or something, even my oldest son, he's so in tune with my feelings. He'll walk past me and he'll be like, Mom, are you okay? I mean, do you need a hug? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. And then I stop and I pause and I said, you know what? I am okay. And I said that, that's where you have to kind of remove those thoughts and memories from your mind, and don't let yourself dwell on them, because they take over your face. And like you said, my new catchphrase, I don't want to be pretty.
See?
I want to be pretty. I love it.
And that's ugly. And besides, then you got to remember why you mad at that person. And then when you could be remembering something really great, like, that you got a piece of cake at home or something, versus you're like, I'm so angry at that guy. And over what? He ain't even thinking about you.
He's not.
Right? And you're over here all stressed and ugly. Let it go.
Let it go.
But it's easy to say, but it's difficult to do. But it is doable.
It's doable. Okay. Now, if you don't, can I ask you, because there may be someone that's watching this that's really thinking about it. These steps that you're talking about, how long did the process take for you to go through? And everybody's going to be different. So, I want to put that disclaimer out for anyone that's watching. There's some people that can move on quicker, and there's some people that the process takes longer for them. But since you're speaking with us today, can you let our viewers know, how long did it take for you to go through this process of letting go and saying, I forgive you, especially with him not being there physically for you to say those words to?
I would say it probably took me over 30 years to get messed up. So, it's not going to be a quick fix,
right.
But I'm going to say active, working on it. I started while I was married. So I'm going to say probably 16 years. It's a long process, because it's 2 steps forward, 87 steps back. 1 step forward, 900 steps back. So you're always working on it. I'm still working today. There are other things that, I deal with, but I would say probably
30
hard.
years.
Yeah.
You have, I think we think of, we want to get over it. We want to move forward. We want to go to the next thing, but we have to realize all the steps and all the time that led to us getting to the point that we're at, to where we're needing to kind of rebuild ourselves and lean back on reclaiming the power of us, of me. Then, it's not going to be an overnight thing. So we have to be willing to commit that time.
Yeah, you have to put time in that. Just like, athletes train for things, it takes them years, right? I had trauma as a child, but because I didn't have the proper emotional support, I didn't know how to process things. So here I am now in my 30s. I'm divorced. I have these 2 little kids. I have to unlearn everything and put in something new in its place. And so you can imagine by 30, I'm pretty set in my ways. Emotion. So you have to break all of that down, and it's a constant every day. You may be great one day, and then 5 minutes later something happened. So that's why it takes so long, because you have to put something else in its place. Just like, when you're on a diet, you take that cheeseburger away, you better give them something that's going to be almost as equally satisfying to eat. You just can't give them a carrot, maybe a carrot burger or something. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay.
So
Thank you
I
for
would say,
sharing that.
yeah, 10 to 16 years of work.
Actively working. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. My pleasure.
All right. And then you've got one more step for us?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
find the value of positive self-talk. So I'm an only child. I'm an introvert. Okay. So I'm constantly talking to myself all the time about whatever, Barbies, and they're having conversations and whatever. And I'm reading a book and I'm reading it, whatever. So, there's that talk in my head. And then as an introvert, you're going into a situation, I can't do this. But then I learned self-talk. Oh yeah, come on, you're going to go in there. You can do this. You look good. You go in there and make a beeline for the bar, or, Sally's going to be there. And then, so I was already doing this already. So then I just took it to another level. And like I had intimated earlier, I tried the Bible verses and it just didn't work for me because of where I was at with the church. The church was a big part of a lot of my problems in healing. So that was like, yeah, that can't work. So I just found, and this was in the 90s when those photos were real popular, it'd have the big black frame and then it'd be like this nice picture. And then there'd be this, positive word right there. I forget what those are called, but like peace.
Yeah. And then you have this nice little beautiful saying at the bottom.
Yeah. And as hokey as those worked for me. Because I couldn't relate to anything biblical, but, just, I'm the master of my own domain, Yeah. I am the master of my own domain. And then I just found other things that worked for me. Even if I couldn't find anything else, I would just take a Post-it note, put a smiley face on it, stick it right there. Hey, it has somebody smiling at me.
I love that. Just that simple.
Something better to look at a smiley face than pull up all that old negative garbage, right? And then after that, I was able to find, things like, your Chinese restaurant and the little thing that you get in the cookie. It was some positive. Boom! I taped that to my computer, put it in my wallet. Whatever I could find. And of course, now I'm a journaler, so I would also put those positive things in my journal as well, because, you just never know when you're going to need a positive word. So these, I know affirmation sounds really woo-woo, but there's something to it, at least for me. That's how I worked. I took out the garbage and I replaced it with positive self-talk.
I'm a huge believer. I believe really in the power of words. So definitely, I think I try to surround myself with positive words and affirmations. I think a lot of times, even when I don't even feel it, I think seeing it and just saying it, even I think I shared on my website once that, and actually in another interview that I did on a similar topic, was that I suffered from very, very, very poor self-esteem based on some things that happened with me with a previous relationship and just growing up. And one of the first steps and one of the first things to help me kind of start feeling beautiful, you made that comment that, I felt ugly. I felt, that I was worthless, was I would get up each morning and I would look at myself in the mirror and I'd be like, you are awesome. You are beautiful. I didn't believe it every day. And there were some mornings where I was just like, oh my God, you're awesome. You're beautiful. But I forced myself to do that every day. Each morning, that was the first thing, my face was the first face I saw, and I would force myself to do that. And something clicked one day where I started to believe that. And, as I said it, I got more sassier and I was like, yeah, girl, you are awesome. You are
Right.
beautiful. So
Right.
there's something about saying those words that, that power of words that you just keep repeating them, keep telling yourself that it will go into your psyche and you'll
Right.
start to live out those words that you're telling yourself.
You
That is
have to
awesome.
be louder than the negative voices that are
Mm-hmm.
in your head. So if you're in toxic relationships or if you're used to, cutting yourself down, then the positive voices have to be louder so that eventually they'll drown out and the negative voices will
Mm-hmm.
just die, shrivel up, or, go wherever negative voices go.
Yeah, cool. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Mhm.
I love those three specific steps. I mean, they're going to take some work.
Mhm.
They're not one things that just overnight. You do step 1, 2, 3, those action steps, and then you're cured forever. But I think there are steps that if anyone that's having issues with believing in the power of themselves, if they were to commit to those steps on a regular basis, that it would get them on the path that they need to be. Um, What would you say, with everything that you've been through and what you've shared with us, what would you say has been your greatest success so far when it comes to believing in the power of Pam?
Hmm. I guess it would have to be the fact that I've tricked y'all into believing I'm this positive person, right?
You've done a great job.
Y'all think I'm Miss Positivity and I'm an extrovert, and I'm really not. I'm an introvert, and I'm always in my head. But the girls that are always in their head or they're sitting up against the wall, they're not having a good time. And I want to do what they were doing. I wanted to be pretty. I wanted to go to dances. I wanted to do all that stuff. And so I had to fool myself into believing that I was the positive person that I wanted to be. So when people say to me, "Oh, you're so positive," I'm like, "Yeah, really? You should see me at 3 in the morning." This takes work. You know, I could choose to be negative or I could choose to be positive. Oh, sure, I get in some crappy moods like we both do. But whenever I'm in a situation, I go, okay, I'm going to respond positive because that's pretty, right? Because, when you're in a situation, you're like, oh, in the traffic and that's ugly again. I'm trying to be pretty. I'm trying to be homecoming queen. So, all that negative and stuff, that's me all day long. My natural reaction is to just be negative. So I have to really work at it. And sometimes, guess what? I actually feel good. And then you fake it till you make it, right?
Hmm.
So,
I love that. Fake it till you make it. And I think a lot of times, as we're building ourselves up, a lot of times that's what we have to do is really just put on that face. And like I said, you'll start, the more you say it, the more you do it, your body,
right.
something clicks in your mind and says, yeah, this is better than where we were. We want to go ahead
Okay.
and focus on this
And, and,
positivity.
and that's and that's the key. And that's something I was telling number one son the other day. I said, you have to recognize that you're making an improvement. You can't just improve and just be like, la, 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 I'm great. You have to stop and go, look, yesterday or last year, I was this.
Hmm.
Look how much I've improved. Yay me. You know? So you see improvement, you validate that you've made improvement. So that tells you that you can keep going. Or if you don't see enough improvement, what do we need to do next? But that's what I was telling him. Look, yeah, appreciate the fact that you're not on the same path that you were on 6 months ago because you've learned some things and you've implemented them.
Those regular check-ins just to say, okay, this is where I was, this is where I am. I'm doing great. Let's
Yeah.
keep on moving forward
Yay
and
me.
progressing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all about celebrating the small successes. Okay. I'm all about that. So that is awesome. So let's say if one of our viewers or our listeners needed to do something to jumpstart themselves into action, they're really feeling what you're talking about. They know that they need to improve their self-talk. they really want to believe in the power of them, but they feel just stuck. What is something that they could do right now? They could pause this video, or as soon as it's over, they could go ahead and get started to believe in the power of them.
Okay. I'm going to tell you this thing that I do. It's really silly, but it works. Okay. I am good at things, right?
Mhm.
Maybe it's Jello. Make a list of 5 things that you're good at. I mean, you may have to dig deep or you may have to dig shallow. I don't know, however you want to look at that. But when you're feeling really, really down on yourself, stop and think, okay, what is something I'm really good at? Or if you're not even sure what you're good at, think about what you love. We all know I love to read, right? I'm a good reader. Okay, put that on your list and come up with 5 things that you're good at. Even if it's washing the dishes. You are good at washing dishes. There is not a piece of dirt on those dishes when you're done. Okay? So then you write all that down. And no judgment here. Don't look at, oh, this one's really stupid. No, just take them at face value. Look, I've got 5 things that I'm good at. Revel in it. Revel in those 5 things. And then maybe the next day come up with 5 new things or add, a 6th thing. But maybe once you get started on that, looking at things you're good at, yeah, you know what? I am okay. I'm the best darn Jello maker that,
Everyone's going to go run out and buy Jello after watching this.
I can pour milk out of the carton without spilling it. If that's all you got,
that takes talent. Yes.
Revel in it,
I love it. I love it. I love it. So 5 things. Okay, Divas. So there you have it. I want everybody that's watching this to write down 5 things that you are great at, or at least 5 things that you love.
Right. Chances are, if you like it, you're good at it. Right?
Right. Right. I love it.
Title your list. I am good at things.
I like that. I am good at things.
So you know what it is.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so this has been great. You have given me so much insight and so many actionable items to do to just kind of jumpstart it. And you know what? Even if someone's not at that, we go through stages. So, self-love and self-care is something that we have to constantly work on. So the topics and the steps that you gave us, no matter where we're at in our journey, there are things that we can reflect on, and there are action steps that we can implement in our daily lives, because it's something that, we all should be aware of and focused on. And I just love some of the steps that you gave me for our children as well, because I think we need to sow into them at an early age. So I appreciate you for doing that, because you gave me some serious moments during our conversation. So thank you so much. Really quickly, can you just tell us, how can our audience learn more about you and the resources that you provide to help them on their journey?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a blogger and I blog about books. So if you want to find out about books, you can check out my blog at An Unconventional Librarian. It's unconventionallibrarian.com. You can always email me at unconventionallibrarian@gmail.com. I'm online all the time. Tweet me. I'm at Pam Loves Books. I love to talk books, but most importantly, if you're having a down moment, and you need someone just to kind of give you a positive something, I'm sure I have a funny cat picture in my arsenal that I can pull out for you. Because sometimes you just need a funny cat.
Even if you're not a cat person, I'm sure there's going to be people like, what? But there's something about those, they draw you in. They make you smile, they make you laugh, and they brighten up your day. They really do. So,
and if you don't like my funny cat, I'll show you a picture of my dragon. Because who doesn't love dragons?
I love it. I love it. Well, Pam, thank you again so much for sharing with our communities. I so appreciate you taking the time to share your story, and also just to share these actionable steps that other divas can take to help them on their journey to believing in the power of themselves. So thank you so much for being a part of the Divatude Experience. It means a lot to me.
It's been an honor. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.